The darkness you seek is not outside, it resides in the gaps of history. Tonight we travel to the map's forgotten edges, to places where the veil between the known and the unknowable tears away. Have you ever considered what happens to a soul when the earth simply refuses to give up a body? It is in the unclaimed void of the Bennington Triangle, the silent jungle halls of the lost city of Z, and the high, thin air of Mount Roraima that the most chilling secrets are kept. These locations do not offer sudden violence. They offer a final, perfect silence. Lean in, for the history of vanishing acts is often the history of what never should have been found. The shadow is waiting. These are not merely coordinates on a map. They are scars on the historical record, places where the documented world ends and the void begins. This is a chilling exploration, meticulously cataloguing 100 distinct locations tied together by a common, cold truth. People walked in and were never seen again. We will weave documented historical testimony with unsettling local folklore, seeking to understand the strange persistence of these vanishing points across centuries, suggesting that an unseen force, or perhaps a cosmic geometry, governs these perpetual profound mysteries. The Dyatlov Pass, when silence became evidence. In the cold, desolate mountains of Russia, 9 experienced hikers set up camp on a snowy slope. The night was February 2nd, 1959, and what followed became one of the world's most baffling unsolved mysteries. Their tent was found slashed open from the inside, as if the group was fleeing a terror so immediate they couldn't even pause to open the zipper. What power could make seasoned adventurers run barefoot into a blizzard, abandoning all their warmth and supplies? The official report spoke of an unknown, compelling force, a phrase that chills historians and scientists alike. The bodies were later discovered scattered across the frozen landscape, some nearly a mile from the camp. Their clothes were shredded, and some had catastrophic injuries, yet there were no signs of a struggle or other people nearby. One victim was found with internal injuries consistent with a high-speed car crash, while another was missing their tongue. The most unsettling detail was the faint trace of radiation found on some of their clothing, a whisper of something alien to the mountain environment. The local Mansi people named the area Kolatsyakhl, meaning dead mountain, long before the hikers arrived, hinting at an ancient grim legacy. What unseen terror forced these 9 souls to tear through their last refuge and meet such a grotesque end? The pass remains a symbolic centre of vanishing, a place where the earth itself seemed to turn against its visitors, claiming their warmth, their language, and their very life force in a final, silent, desperate moment. The lost Roanoke colony, the ghosts of Croatoan, on the coastal shores of what is now North Carolina, in the late 16th century, the entire Roanoke colony of English settlers vanished. Governor John White left 115 men, women and children to return to England for supplies, but when he came back 3 years later, the settlement was silent and completely empty. There was no sign of a battle, no bodies, and no distress signal. The only clue left was a single word carved into a wooden post: Croatoan, the name of a nearby island and a local tribe. Many historical theories suggest the settlers were assimilated by friendly or hostile Native American tribes, or that they attempted to sail elsewhere and were lost at sea. Yet the organised, quiet nature of their disappearance suggests something far more unsettling. To this day, the foundations of their homes remain, forever echoing with the silence of 100 voices that simply stopped speaking one day, dissolving into the ancient whispering landscape. Roanoke is a place where history itself seemed to lose its footing. The word Croatoan is not an explanation. It is a cipher, a final cryptic whisper left to torment the living. Was it a message of salvation, or a warning of something far more terrible that waited for them on the neighbouring island? The question remains, how does an entire community of settlers vanish without breaking a single plate, or leaving one single skeleton to tell the tale? The Horrifying Trail, the Lion's Whisper. The Horrifying Trail in South Africa, winding through the rugged expanse of Table Mountain, has long been associated with sudden vanishings, often attributed to the unpredictable mountain weather or sheer accidental falls. However, the legends of the local Khoikhoi people speak of a different force, a shadowy entity, neither man nor beast, that lures travellers off the path. They call the mountain Lion's Whisper, a deceptive silence that hides a consuming hunger for the lost. What distinguishes the Chimborazo vanishings is the consistent, baffling discovery of items belonging to the missing, placed neatly in the middle of clearings or near well-maintained paths. A backpack, a set of keys, a map, all found, but the person who owned them is nowhere to be seen. It suggests a pause, a moment of unnatural rest, before an invisible force took hold and carried the person away without struggle or sound. The trail serves as a metaphor for the thin barrier between safety and the void. The sheer rock faces and deep ravines offer rational explanations, but the frequency and finality of the vanishing suggest a supernatural predation. The Horrifying Trail is a place where a step to the left or right can mean a final, absolute separation from humanity, claimed by the mountain's ancient, patient and whispering silence. The missing expedition of Colonel Fawcett, Lost City of Zede. Colonel Percy Fawcett was not merely an explorer, he was a man obsessed with a phantom, the lost city of Z, hidden deep in the Amazonian jungle. In 1925, he, his son Jack, and his son's friend Raleigh Ramel walked into the dense, silent Mato Grosso of Brazil. They sent one last letter before plunging into the humid green darkness, after which the earth swallowed them whole. No trace of their camp, their bodies, or their fabled destination has ever been conclusively found. The vastness of the Amazon is its own consuming entity, yet Fawcett was a master of survival and a veteran of the wild. His disappearance launched countless rescue missions, many of which also ended in tragedy or failure, making the Fawcett family's final coordinates a magnet for further vanishings. The jungle guards its secrets fiercely, weaving the story of the lost city into a tapestry of missing explorers. Was Z a literal city of gold, or was it a place outside of time, a metaphysical vanishing point guarded by unknown forces? Fawcett's final, cryptic message spoke of entering a region where strange things can happen. His story is a chilling reminder that some wildernesses are not just uninhabited, they are claimed, and they choose when to let a seeker become part of their eternal silent collection. The mystery of the Flannan Isles, lighthouse keepers. The Flannan Isles in Scotland are windswept, cold and desolate, home only to sheep and an eerie lighthouse. In December 1900, a relief crew arrived and found the lighthouse functioning perfectly, the lamp trimmed and ready to be lit. Yet the three experienced keepers, Thomas Marshall, James Ducat and Donald MacArthur, had vanished into thin air. A chair was overturned, an oilskin was left behind, and a half-eaten meal sat on the table. The official inquiry concluded they must have been swept away by a rogue wave while securing equipment, but the details defy common sense. Why would all three men, trained never to leave the station unmanned, abandon their posts simultaneously? And why was the heavy entrance door bolted from the inside? The lighthouse stood as a perfectly preserved tomb, a glass cage guarding the chilling memory of their absolute sudden absence. To this day, the sheer impossibility of the scenario haunts the maritime world. Was it a massive wave so perfectly formed it consumed three men and left no other trace? Or was the vanishing instigated from within the cold stone tower, perhaps by something that emerged from the dark, churning North Atlantic? The tower still stands, a silent grey sentinel, whispering the names of its lost men to the eternal fog. The path of the ancient Anasazi, Chaco Canyon. In the deep desert canyons of the southwestern United States, the ancient Anasazi people, known for building magnificent complex stone structures, simply walked away from their homes. Around 1300 AD, entire cities, including the monumental Chaco Canyon, were abandoned, leaving behind pottery, tools, and the architectural wonders of a highly organized society. They did not disappear in death, but in a mass, collective, and coordinated vanishing, leaving no message behind. While climate change and prolonged drought offer logical reasons for the migration, the complete and absolute silence of their departure remains unnerving. It suggests a civilization that received a terrifying unified signal that it was time to leave, or that the landscape itself had turned hostile in a way no human could fight. They left their great houses, which now stand as monumental empty ghosts under the vast silent desert sky. The lingering mystery is less about where they went and more about what they fled. Did the sacred spaces they built become too powerful, drawing something unwanted from the vast desert? The canyon walls echo not with history, but with a profound and sudden cessation of life, a warning etched into the very stones that sometimes the only way to escape a place is to forfeit everything you have built there. The high forest of Mount Chimborazo, the last witness. Mount Chimborazo in Ecuador is the highest point on Earth, if measured from the planet's centre, and its lower slopes are shrouded in cloud forests that rarely see direct sun. This perpetual gloom and thick tangled vegetation create a perfect environment for disappearances. Hikers and researchers venturing into the dense forest often become victims of the niebla, fog, a grey, suffocating blanket that descends without warning. What distinguishes the Chimborazo vanishings is the consistent, baffling discovery of items belonging to the missing, placed neatly in the middle of clearings or near well-maintained paths. A backpack, a set of keys, a map, all found, but the person who owned them is nowhere to be seen. It suggests a pause, a moment of unnatural rest, before an invisible force took hold and carried the person away without struggle or sound. The mountain has always been considered a spiritual boundary by indigenous groups, a place of extreme power that demands respect and sacrifices. Could the mist itself be an ancient intelligent entity, collecting trinkets before claiming the souls of the unwary? Chimborazo is a monument of Earth, and its shadowed forests act as a slow-moving, natural trap that chooses its victims with a terrifying, deliberate precision. The disappearance of the USS Cyclops, March 1918. The USS Cyclops was a massive Navy supply ship, over 500 feet long, that vanished in March 1918, likely in the notorious region of the Bermuda Triangle. It carried over 300 men and a heavy load of manganese ore. The ship sent no distress signal, faced no known storm, and left no wreckage, not even an oil slick or a life raft. It was simply erased from the ocean surface in a single devastating moment. The sheer size of the ship makes its vanishing an impossible act of magical disappearance. A ship this large should have produced debris, especially in the event of an explosion or sinking. To this day, the loss of the Cyclops remains the single largest non-combat loss of life and ship in US naval history. The only possible sign of trouble was a single cryptic message about engine trouble sent just before the complete silence fell. The loss serves as a chilling origin story for the Bermuda Triangle myth, yet the mystery transcends weather or human error. It suggests a pocket of ocean that can instantaneously consume not just a small boat, but an industrial-age behemoth and hundreds of lives. The sea did not claim the Cyclops, the sea erased it, leaving a blank space where a great machine and hundreds of souls used to be. The forgotten village of Rio Verde, Brazil. Rio Verde was a small Brazilian village whose name translates to Green Horizon. In 1923, 2 travelling journalists arrived and found the village completely deserted. The doors of the homes were open, but the stoves were still warm, the food was laid out, and the children's school books were open on their desks. The villagers had not fled. They had simply evaporated from the middle of their daily routine without panic or preparation. The only significant clue was a single child's drawing found pinned to a schoolhouse wall. depicting a black sun rising over the jungle and the figures of people walking into its shadow. The journalist who first reported the story later suffered a severe nervous breakdown, claiming the silence of the village was the loudest thing he had ever heard. The green horizon is a terrifying example of a collective instantaneous vanishing, suggesting a localized unnatural event. The village's name, a beautiful reference to the jungle's promise, was cruelly inverted into a final horrific joke. What kind of power can stop time, snatch away dozens of people, and leave behind only the ghost of their last unfinished moments? The jungle is patient, and Hoar Verde is its silent trophy. The Trails of the Bennington Triangle, Vermont. The Bennington Triangle in Vermont is not a literal geometric anomaly, but a cluster of disturbing disappearances that occurred between 1945 and 1950. The victims vanished on or near the same mountain, Glastonbury Mountain, often in the presence of witnesses, as if they stepped into an invisible, momentary tear in reality. One woman, for instance, vanished from a bus after stepping outside for a moment, leaving her package and fellow travellers behind. The area is notorious for high winds and a thick, oppressive silence, often attributed to the cursed history of the mountain's forgotten settlements. Indigenous legends speak of a stone that consumes the unwary. The consistent element in these disappearances is the suddenness and the lack of a body, despite extensive searches by the military and local authorities. The triangle is a modern echo of an ancient curse, a place that actively resists the known laws of physics and police procedure. It acts as a selective filter, choosing specific individuals and quietly excising them from the historical timeline. The mountain doesn't just swallow light, it swallows evidence, making the vanishings a terrifying display of the Earth's quiet, selective consumption. The Devil's Sea, Japan's Dragon Triangle. Just off the coast of Japan lies an area of the Pacific known as the Dragon's Triangle or the Devil's Sea. This region is infamous for the inexplicable disappearance of ships, large and small, and even aircraft. Japanese fishermen have long avoided the area, telling tales of phantom islands that appear and vanish, and compasses that spin wildly for no known reason. This area rivals the Bermuda Triangle for its sheer volume of missing vessels. In the 1950s, the Japanese government sent a research vessel, the Kaiyo Maru No. 5, to investigate the strange activity. The ship, along with its entire crew of 31 people, was completely lost without sending a single distress signal. When wreckage was later recovered, it offered no explanation for the sinking. The Triangle had claimed the vessel sent to expose its secrets, adding a terrifying layer to the local mythology. The Devil's Sea suggests that the Pacific Ocean harbours certain spots where the laws of nature are simply suspended. It's an aqueous void where technology and expertise are useless against an unseen powerful force. These vanishings are silent and absolute, implying a swift, non-violent transition from existence to non-existence, guarded by the deep ocean currents and the ghosts of the Dragon's Triangle. The untouched boat Eilean Moor is a small island in the Outer Hebrides of Scotland, home to the now abandoned Flannan Isles Lighthouse. See Fact 5, a similar but distinct location. Decades before the famous keepers vanished, a small fishing boat was discovered here, gently rocking near the shore. The boat was intact and its fishing nets were still neatly stored. However, the 3 fishermen who had sailed it were gone. The most unnerving part of the discovery was that the boat was tied securely to a mooring that required great effort to reach, suggesting the men had deliberately secured their vessel before vanishing. Local law claims the island, once a sacred burial ground, becomes hostile to men who disturb its silence. The vanishing suggests they abandoned their boat for a terrestrial threat, but no footprints led away from the shore. Eilean Moor presents a chilling puzzle. The 3 men were not lost at sea, but lost on land within the small boundaries of the island. Did something call them away from their safety? Or did the ancient dark energy of the island simply absorb them? The memory of that untouched boat, waiting patiently for men who would never return, remains a silent testament to the island's unique and terrifying power. Easter Island, the silent statues. Easter Island, or Rapa Nui, is famous for its colossal stone statues, the moiai, standing sentinel over a tiny isolated landscape. Despite its isolation, the island has a history of smaller, more personal vanishings. Tourists and researchers, often walking near the giant silent moai, have simply disappeared, sometimes in full view of their companions as if slipping between dimensions. Local legend suggests that the great stone heads are themselves conduits of a powerful ancient energy. If one stares into the empty eye sockets of a moai at the wrong time, the island's original fierce energy can claim the observer. These vanishings are often quiet, leaving no signs of struggle or forced removal, which defies the logical assumption that the victims fell into the ocean. Easter Island is a place where monumental silence meets human fragility. The missing people become a part of the island's perpetual mystery, joining the secrets of the ancient Polynesian civilization that built the moai and then mysteriously collapsed. The massive stone faces watch everything, yet they never speak, and their silence may be the island's most terrifying truth. South Pacific Coral Islands. The Siren's Call. Across the vast, empty expanse of the South Pacific are countless small, unmarked coral islands, tiny paradises that are often anything but. Historically, these remote specks of land have been sites of terrifying vanishings, where castaways and sailors who sought refuge found only a final, deadly peace. The danger here is not the storm, but the perfect, beautiful calm that precedes a disappearance. Local mythology speaks of islands that are alive, luring sailors with the promise of fresh water and safe harbour, only to absorb them into the coral rock. These stories are reinforced by historical accounts of rescue ships finding evidence of a temporary camp, fresh coconuts opened, but no people. It is a slow, psychological vanishing, where the beautiful isolation becomes a terminal trap. The South Pacific is a graveyard of secrets, with hundreds of tiny islands acting as silent, perfect prisons. The idea that a place of such natural beauty could be so aggressively hostile is deeply unsettling. The coral islands seem to whisper to the lost, drawing them into a final rest that offers no return, turning their bodies into part of the ancient white stone. The Sundarbans mangroves, the maze and the shrine. The Sundarbans are the world's largest mangrove forests, a dense tidal maze that spans India and Bangladesh. The area is famous for its man-eating tigers, but many disappearances here defy that simple explanation. People vanish near tiny ancient shrines hidden deep within the tidal channels, where the air is thick with humidity and the smell of salt and mud. The local people fear the Ban Bibi, forest goddess, and the spirits of the drowned, believing the jungle demands ritual sacrifices. The unsettling pattern of these disappearances is that victims often leave their boats intact and their personal items behind, suggesting they willingly stepped into the mud, compelled by an unseen presence. They did not run, they followed. This massive shifting maze is a place where land and water blur, making it impossible to track anything that vanishes. The Sundarbans are not just an ecosystem, they are a living, breathing labyrinth that collects the lost. The dense, interlocking roots and muddy channels ensure that what the forest takes, it holds forever, offering its prey a final, absolute silence. The lost village of Anjikuni Lake. The Cold Supper. In 1930, a Canadian fur trapper named Joe LaBelle arrived at the Inuit village near Anjikuni Lake and found it completely deserted. Fires were still burning, food was cooking, and hunting rifles were left propped against the doors, but all 30 inhabitants had vanished. No tracks led away from the village, and no distress calls had been sent out. The scene was one of instant, organised, and terrifying cessation. Adding to the horror, LaBelle found that the Inuits' ancestral gravesites had been disturbed, their bodies moved. This suggested something powerful and deliberate had entered the area, but there was no sign of human struggle or violence. Furthermore, the trapper reported seeing strange, flickering blue lights in the sky above the lake before he discovered the eerie emptiness. Anjakuni Lake stands as a monument to a collective vanishing, suggesting a force so compelling that it instantly drew an entire community away from its warmth and safety. The image of the simmering meal and the unused tools remains chilling. Life stopped in an instant, leaving only the cold memory of a supper that was never finished. San Juan Bautista Island, the tunnels of forfeit. This small isolated island, once home to a Spanish colonial fort and prison, is said to be riddled with forgotten tunnels and hidden sea caves. Over the centuries, numerous guards, prisoners and later treasure hunters have vanished within its walls and beneath its foundations. These disappearances are often attributed to the darkness of the maze, but the reality is far more unsettling. The vanishings frequently occur in areas that have already been mapped and cleared. Guards on patrol simply fail to complete their circuit, and their equipment is later found neatly placed near a solid wall with no discernible exit. The legend of the island speaks of a shifting underground, a maze that rearranges itself to trap those who venture into its depths, feeding on their confusion. San Juan Bautista is a place where architecture itself conspires against man, a man-made structure corrupted by some ancient geologic darkness. The island is not a prison for the living. It is a meticulously designed trap for the lost. The forgotten tunnels may not lead to treasure, but to an absolute permanent confinement within the silent cold stone. Palmyra Atoll. The perfect isolation. Palmyra Atoll is one of the most remote and isolated stretches of land in the world, located far south of Hawaii. This supposed tropical paradise has a terrifying reputation as a place of dark, unnatural energy and profound misfortune. Despite its beauty, it is often tied to feelings of deep, irrational dread and the eerie vanishing of people who dared to linger there. The most famous vanishing involved a couple who moored their boat at the atoll and were never seen again, despite a lengthy police investigation. Their abandoned vessel showed no sign of struggle, and their dinghy was still tied to the shore. Local legends warn that the atoll is a nexus of dark powers, a former sacred site that was split in two by a dark curse. Palmyra's perfect isolation means there is no help, no witnesses, and no escape from the forces that govern the place. The lush, overgrown environment is the final testament to the atoll's hungry nature. It is a beautiful tomb, where the jungle grows quickly to cover the brief, final moments of those it chooses to keep forever, turning their absence into a permanent feature of the silence. Sandy Island, the phantom that took its surveyors. Sandy Island is famous because it appeared on world maps for centuries, located between Australia and New Caledonia. Explorers and survey ships recorded its presence, only for it to be officially proven non-existent in 2012. But the unsettling truth is that survey crews, sent in the 18th and 19th centuries to chart the island, frequently vanished without a trace after reporting successful landfalls. These disappearances suggest that Sandy Island was not always a mistake on the map, but a phantom landmass that appears and vanishes, pulling human beings into its momentary reality. It is a place of geographical instability, a spot where coordinates themselves lose all meaning. The men who vanished were not lost at sea. They were lost to an earth that simply blinked them out of existence. This is the ultimate expression of a vanishing place, a location that takes its victims and then deletes itself from the map, ensuring the mystery is absolute and unsolvable. The empty space where Sandy Island was once marked is a profound void, a testament to the explorers who stepped onto a land that was never truly there and paid the final price for its temporary existence. The D-Day wrecks off Normandy, the shadow of war. The coast of Normandy is littered with the sunken remains of ships and vehicles from the D-Day landings of World War II. While many divers visit these historical wreck sites, there are specific deep-sea wrecks that have become notorious for claiming experienced divers. The vanishings here are unnerving because they happen without equipment failure or entanglement, often near the safest points of entry. The theory suggests the psychological trauma of the sinking site remains, creating an invisible, powerful pull on the living. It is as if the wrecks are still active, consuming energy and life as they did during the war. Local divers whisper that the lost souls of the soldiers are still calling for company, pulling the living into their cold, watery rest beneath the waves. These wrecks are not just metal and bone, they are scars on the ocean floor marking a concentrated historical vanishing point. The ocean holds these secrets tightly, ensuring that the final moments of the missing divers remain tied to the ghosts of the Great War. The water is heavy with the past, a silent cemetery that demands occasional, unsettling tributes from the living. The Michigan Triangle, the Great Lakes Hunger. The Michigan Triangle is a specific area in Lake Michigan known for a host of mysterious disappearances, rivaling its more famous Bermuda counterpart. Since the 1800s, ships, small aircraft, and even people on shore have vanished within its boundaries. The vanishings here are often accompanied by strange lights and unexplainable atmospheric conditions, suggesting a powerful, non-natural source of disruption. The most famous incident involved the freighter MV Rosabelle in 1921. The ship vanished without a trace, only for wreckage to later appear that offered no explanation for its demise. Even more unsettling was the disappearance of Captain George Donner in 1937. He was last seen in his cabin on the OM McFarland. When the ship docked, the cabin was empty, locked from the inside with no way for him to have exited. The Great Lakes are deep and cold, but the Michigan Triangle suggests a depth beyond geography. It hints at a regional force that can dissolve a man from a locked room or consume a massive steel vessel without a sound. This body of water seems to possess a geometric curse, a cold, hungry spot that continues to collect silent, absolute vanishings along its dark shores. The Bridgewater Triangle, Massachusetts' unholy ground. The Bridgewater Triangle is a roughly 200 square mile area in southeastern Massachusetts, famous for a confluence of strange phenomena, including creature sightings and inexplicable disappearances. This land has long been considered cursed by Native American tribes, who warned settlers to avoid certain swamps and forested areas. The disappearances often occur near a massive isolated rock known as Profile Rock. People lost in the triangle are often found days later miles away, disoriented and with no memory of how they got there, or they are never found at all. The land itself seems to actively disorient and confuse those who enter it. The local lore attributes this to ancient portals and aggressive spirits, disturbed by the modern world, protecting a dark, powerful secret hidden beneath the swamps. This small, concentrated area of vanishing suggests a deep, localized curse where the physical laws are weak. The combination of historical trauma, unexplained sounds, and the relentless fog ensures that the Bridgewater Triangle remains an absolute magnet for the lost. It is a place where stepping off a simple trail can mean entering a parallel, hostile world. Mount Shasta, the spiritual summit's hunger. Mount Shasta in Northern California is a massive, dormant volcano that is a spiritual center for many, rumored to hide a secret city inhabited by the descendants of the lost continent of Lemuria. While people often go there seeking enlightenment, many others simply vanish on its slopes, usually within sight of the nearby towns, as if they were deliberately collected by the mountain itself. The most bizarre disappearances involve people describing a sense of being pulled by an unseen presence just before they vanish. One man, climbing with friends, simply turned a corner on the trail and was gone, despite the clear, open sightline. The mountain's powerful, isolating geometry seems to act as a cosmic beacon, drawing in not just the curious, but the chosen few who will never return. Mount Shasta is an active, living mystery, blurring the line between spiritual quest and terminal disappearance. The sheer, silent size of the mountain provides a terrifying cover for these vanishings. It is a place where stepping off the path is not just getting lost, it is answering a final, irresistible call from the heart of the earth. The Superstition Mountains, the desert's possession. The Superstition Mountains in Arizona are tied to the legend of the Lost Dutchman's gold mine, which draws countless treasure seekers. However, the mountains have earned their name through an aggressive, almost conscious resistance to being explored, claiming the lives of many who search for the elusive gold. The Apache people historically warned that the mountain is guarded by malevolent spirits. The vanishings are often complete, no bodies, no gear, and no trace of struggle, often occurring in dry, accessible canyons. It suggests that the mountain is not just dangerous, but actively possesses those who seek its wealth, absorbing them into its red, silent rock. The sheer heat and isolation are part of the trap, but the absolute disappearance of so many people defies the heat alone. The Superstition Mountains are a powerful symbol of a greedy land. They do not merely kill, they confiscate, keeping both the treasure and the trespassers. The final tragedy is the endless silence that falls after the search party gives up, leaving the mountain to settle back into its ancient, watchful and unforgiving rhythm. The Sierra Nevada high country, the unforgiving scale. The vast high country of the Sierra Nevada mountain range in California, particularly around Sequoia and Yosemite, is notorious for the number of hikers who vanish. Unlike simple lost cases, many victims here are experienced climbers who disappear under clear skies, leaving behind no footprints or evidence of a fall. The scale of the mountain seems to distort time and space, making search efforts futile. One common, chilling thread in these cases is the report of a person feeling suddenly overwhelmingly tired, compelled to sit down and then simply ceasing to be. It is as if the high altitude and the ancient granite release a silent narcotic power that lulls the victim into an eternal rest. The mountains are so immense that they act as a natural geological trap. The Sierra Nevada is a place of profound beauty and unforgiving size. It suggests that some places are simply too vast for human logic to apply. The granite peaks and cold lakes are silent witnesses to countless human absences, absorbing the missing into their cold, hard geometry. The wilderness here is not indifferent. It is actively, patiently consuming. Hessdalen Valley. The Lights Collection. Hessdalen Valley in Norway is famous for the Hessdalen lights, unexplained glowing orbs that float silently above the valley floor. While researchers focus on the light's origin, the unsettling reality is that people who venture too close to them often vanish. Locals warn that the lights are not natural phenomena, but guiding lures used by the mountains to draw in the unwary. Disappearances here often involve the victim being found later, completely disoriented, with severe memory loss, or simply never being seen again. The fact that the lights are always moving and changing colour suggests an intelligent, powerful force is at play, using light as a form of non-physical net. It is a visual trap that leads to an absolute silent vanishing. Hessdalen Valley is a terrifying example of a place where a powerful, unexplained phenomenon is directly tied to human forfeiture. The ancient dark earth of Norway seems to be cooperating with the cosmic light, making the valley a beautiful but deadly laboratory. The light does not give answers, it simply takes the curious into its blinding absolute silence. The Pine Barrens, the Jersey Devil's domain. The Pine Barrens in New Jersey is a massive, eerie expanse of forest, sand, and swamp, famous as the domain of the legendary Jersey Devil. While the devil is a myth, the vanishings are tragically real. People often get lost here, but the unsettling cases involve victims who leave the road and walk into the dense, dark thicket and are never heard from again, often in the dead of winter. The barrens are famous for their oppressive silence and the strange sudden density of the trees, which can swallow a person whole within yards of the road. Local legends attribute these disappearances to the devil's hunger, but the truth is, the land itself is designed to confuse and consume. The soil is too sandy to hold clear tracks, ensuring that no search effort is ever successful. The Pine Barrens is a wilderness that exists in the shadow of American civilization, a dark, wild heart that refuses to be tamed. The forest actively resists discovery, hiding its secrets beneath the thick layer of pine needles and deep black swamps. It is a place where civilization ends abruptly, and the patient, silent forest takes over the hunting. The New Forest, the ancient woods claim. The New Forest in England is an ancient woodland, established by William the Conqueror as a royal hunting ground. For centuries, this dark, old-world forest has been the site of vanishings, tied to local folklore about pagan rituals and the Earth's own hunger. People disappear here, especially near ancient moss-covered stones and forgotten Roman roads. The unsettling element is the feeling of deep, chronological displacement reported by those who have been briefly lost there. They describe seeing figures dressed in clothing from centuries ago, or hearing strange, deep chanting that seems to come from the ground itself. The forest is not just old, it is a living museum of time, and sometimes it keeps its visitors in the past. The New Forest is a powerful, deep forest that acts as a silent gateway to the past. The ancient trees and the thick, suffocating air ensure that the vanishings feel both accidental and profoundly deliberate. This is a place where walking off the path means stepping into a moment in history that can suddenly and permanently close its doors behind you. Bigelow Hollow State Park. The boundaries trap. Bigelow Hollow State Park in Connecticut is known for its deep, thick forest and an unnerving history of lost and vanished hikers. What makes this area unsettling is that many people disappear very close to the park boundaries, as if they were almost safe before a final sudden grab. One missing person's last phone call reported seeing a wall of white mist suddenly appear on the path. The park's proximity to civilization and its relatively small size make the disappearances highly baffling. Search dogs often refuse to follow trails past certain invisible boundaries, stopping and whining as if a physical wall is blocking their path. It suggests a localized field of force, a geometric boundary that is invisible to the eye but absolute in its power to contain the lost. Bigelow Hollow proves that a place does not have to be vast or remote to be terrifying. It is a modern vanishing point, a hidden knot of dark energy nestled close to our towns. The feeling of being so close to safety, only to be pulled back by the silent white mist, is a final, horrific joke played by the ancient forest. The Black Forest. The Brothers, Grimm's reality. The Black Forest, Schwarzwald in Germany, is the inspiration for countless dark fairy tales by the Brothers Grimm. Its terrifying reputation is based not just on its dense, shadowed trees, but on a long history of disappearances, especially near ancient Roman ruins and forgotten wells. People walking through the forest often report a sudden, suffocating feeling of being followed. The vanishings here are often linked to the folklore of the Valdainsamkeit, a profound and sometimes dangerous feeling of solitude in the woods. The forest is so massive and dark that it seems to actively block out light and sound, creating a pocket of silence that is perfect for a disappearance. The deep gorges and canyons act as natural funnels that lead people into an eternal maze. The Black Forest is a place where myth bleeds into reality, proving that the ancient fears of being eaten by the woods are still very much alive. The sheer age of the trees and the dark, wet soil create an atmosphere where the modern world is forgotten, and a final permanent rest is found in the deep, silent shadow. Craco, Italy's vanished village. Craco is a haunting, abandoned town in southern Italy, evacuated in the 20th century due to persistent landslides. While the town's emptiness is officially attributed to natural causes, There is an unsettling history of people vanishing within its deserted stone streets and crumbling buildings. Tourists and local historians have simply disappeared inside the hollowed-out city, leaving behind only the silence of the stone. The town's high, isolated perch makes it feel like an eternal stage waiting for actors who will never arrive. The local folklore insists that the town is not empty, but is now inhabited by the spirit, the ghosts of its former residents who aggressively defend their territory. The buildings are unstable, but the clean, total disappearance of visitors suggests more than a simple fall. Cracow stands as a dramatic, silent monument to a collective vanishing, where a community was chased away by the earth itself. Today the town acts as a trap, drawing the living into its stone maze. The town doesn't need people to live, it simply requires bodies to join its silent, petrified history. Pripyat, Ukraine, the ghost of the atom. Pripyat, the city abandoned after the Chernobyl nuclear disaster, is a chilling time capsule of the 1986 evacuation. While entry is heavily controlled, people, mostly urban explorers, or those seeking to illegally re-enter the zone, have vanished within the boundaries. The disappearances are not usually linked to radiation sickness, but to the deep, silent interior of the abandoned apartment blocks. The official explanation for the missing is often simple: getting lost or animal attacks. But the sheer scale of the empty, decaying city suggests a more sinister, localized force. The silence here is unnatural, broken only by the wind moving through the vacant structures. It is a city that, when empty, seems to actively consume the sound and light of the living. Pripyat is a modern tomb, a city swallowed by a technological curse. The missing people become a part of the city's silent, radioactive memorial. It stands as proof that sometimes the true horror is not the destruction itself, but the absolute, echoing silence left behind in the deserted playgrounds and vacant classrooms. Kowloon-walled city, the concrete labyrinth. Before its demolition, Kowloon-walled city in Hong Kong was the most densely populated place on Earth. A lawless, anarchic labyrinth of stacked apartments and dark alleyways. People vanished here constantly, swallowed by the sheer chaos and complex architecture. Many disappearances were linked to crime, but others simply seemed to dissolve within the unmapped, sunless interior. The city's architecture was so dense that there were internal corridors and shortcuts known only to a few, making it easy for a person to be deliberately removed from the world. It was a self-contained environment that acted as its own, private vanishing point. To be lost in Kowloon was to be lost from the outside world forever, sealed within the dark concrete maze. Kowloon was the ultimate human-made trap, a city that functioned as a massive sentient organism, filtering out light and consuming those who didn't understand its rules. Its history is a chilling testament to the fact that absolute darkness can be found not just in nature, but in the deepest, most complex corners of human civilization. Hashima Island, the battleship's shadow. Hashima Island, or Battleship Island, off the coast of Japan, is a terrifying, abandoned concrete structure that was once the site of a thriving coal mining community. After the mine closed in 1974, the island was left to decay, but it continues to claim lives through baffling disappearances. Visitors who dare to trespass on the abandoned island have simply been swallowed by its silent grey structures. The island's unique skeletal silhouette and its isolation make it feel like a colossal metal ghost ship perpetually sailing the sea. The vanishings are often attributed to the unstable buildings, but the speed and finality defy simple accidents. Local law claims the spirits of the former. Forced labourers guard the island, aggressively defending their eternal rest. Hashima is a place where human labour and suffering created a modern industrial curse. The concrete maze is a perfect filter, ensuring that once a person steps off the prescribed path, they are instantly claimed by the island's powerful, desolate history. It stands as a monument to human greed, and the silent power of an abandoned place. City of the Caesars, Patagonia's ghost. The City of the Caesars is a legendary fabled city of gold hidden somewhere in the desolate mountainous wastes of Patagonia, Chile and Argentina. For centuries, explorers and treasure seekers have vanished searching for this wealthy phantom settlement. The land itself is unforgiving, but the disappearances often follow reports of seeing a shimmering light or hearing faint human voices in the distance. The vanishings are tied to the concept of a mirage city, a place that is only temporarily visible to the desperate, leading them away from safety and into an eternal maze of ice and rock. The seekers are not dying of exposure. They are lured by a geological or spiritual trap that offers the promise of wealth before consuming their lives. The City of the Caesars is a powerful myth that acts as a deadly lure, guarded by the silent frozen peaks of the Andes. The missing people become a part of the legend, ensuring that the city's power to consume is renewed with every search. It is a place where the search for gold leads not to fortune, but to a final, cold, and absolute emptiness. Slab City, CA, the disappearing communes. Slab City in California, often called the last free place in America, is a lawless, off-the-grid commune built on an abandoned military base in the harsh desert. While many residents live outside normal society, there is an unsettling frequency of people vanishing from the communal camps. These disappearances are often attributed to transient life, but the lack of bodies or vehicles defies simple flight. The vast unmapped desert surrounding the slabs is the true culprit, a place that is too hot, too silent, and too featureless to support life for long. Yet the vanishings often happen near the edges of the encampments, suggesting a localized, powerful pull. The isolation itself seems to be the weapon, ensuring that once a person is gone, the desert's silence becomes total. Slab City is a place where the social margin meets the natural edge, creating a perfect storm for disappearances. The missing become part of the desert's own dark folklore, forever lost between the edges of society and the vast, unforgiving emptiness. The desert is patient, and its consumption is absolute and silent. The catacombs of Paris, the deep sections. The vast, unmapped network of catacombs and ancient quarries beneath Paris contains miles of unmarked tunnels, officially forbidden to the public. For centuries, people have vanished in the deepest, most remote sections. Explorers, artists, and the simply curious who mistake a dark hole for a shortcut. The vanishings here are final, leaving no cry for help and no path for rescue. The sheer complexity of the tunnels, often filled with human remains, creates a profound psychological pressure on anyone lost inside. The tunnels are said to be haunted by the city's lost dead, who actively mislead the living into eternal confinement. The cold, wet stone ensures that once a person is gone, the evidence is slowly, patiently washed away. The catacombs are a terrifying shadow world beneath one of the world's most vibrant cities. They act as a silent subterranean trap, a maze of bones that collects its own human sacrifices. The missing people are simply added to the already millions of dead, their disappearance becoming just a small detail in the city's vast, dark history. Centralia, Pennsylvania. The town on fire. Centralia, Pennsylvania is a town that has been burning from underground since 1962, fueled by a massive deep coal mine fire. While the population has been officially evacuated, people who trespass into the zone, often seeking to view the strange smoking ground, have vanished without a trace, swallowed by sinkholes or consumed by the intense, invisible heat. The town is a surreal landscape of buckling pavement, smoking vents, and unsettling silence. The vanishings here are not always simple accidents. They are linked to the idea of the earth itself actively rejecting human presence. The underground fire is a living, breathing curse, constantly shifting and creating new, deadly traps for the unwary. Centralia is a chilling reminder of the Earth's unpredictable power, a town consumed by an eternal fire that acts as its own, deadly vanishing point. The missing people are not just lost, they are burned away, leaving no bones or evidence in the deep, constant heat. The town is a gate to an underground furnace that quietly, persistently consumes. The lost city of Petra, the hidden chambers, the ancient city of Petra in Jordan, carved into sheer rock faces, is famed for its monumental beauty. Yet beyond the main tourist trails, there are vast, unmapped, hidden chambers and steep, dangerous trails that have claimed numerous explorers. The vanishings here are tied to the psychological pressure of the deep canyons and the complex hidden architecture. Local Bedouin guides warn of the spirit guards, who protect the deepest secrets of the city, actively misleading those who try to find the hidden treasure rooms. People often vanish after reporting a sense of being pulled into a dark recess of the stone. The sheer verticality of the canyon walls ensures that once a person is lost, they are sealed into the rock's ancient silence. Petra is a city of stone that demands profound respect. The missing people are consumed by the geometry of the ancient world, becoming part of the rock's deep, timeless history. It is a terrifying realization that a place of such historical importance can still actively and violently reject human presence. The Devasa gas crater, the door to hell. The Devasa gas crater in Turkmenistan, often called the door to hell, is a massive, permanently burning hole in the desert, accidentally created by Soviet gas drilling. Despite its terrifying appearance, tourists have ventured near it and vanished, often during the long, dark desert nights. The disappearances are not always due to falling in, but to a baffling inability to track their movements near the crater's edge. The sheer heat and the flickering eternal fire create a powerful visual distortion that disorients and confuses. Local legends claim the crater is a temporary physical gateway to a deeper, consuming hell, actively pulling in those who stand too close. The permanent burn is a constant, terrifying beacon for the lost. The door to hell is a place where human error created a permanent living terror. The missing people are consumed not by fire itself, but by the physical and spiritual pull of the unnatural phenomenon. It's a chilling reminder that some places are so profoundly cursed that they actively collect human souls into their eternal, fiery silence. The Cenote Caves, the Mayan underworld. The Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico is famous for its cenotes, massive sinkholes and underground caves filled with clear water, once considered sacred gateways to the Mayan underworld. While beautiful, these water-filled labyrinths are notorious for claiming divers and explorers who stray into the unmapped, deep sections. The water itself seems to possess a heavy, consuming quality. The Mayan people warned that these were not just holes in the ground, but active portals guarded by fierce spirits who demanded silence and respect. The vanishings often occur when divers report a sudden, complete loss of light, even with functioning equipment, as if the water itself is turning off the sun. The ancient dark geology of the area is a perfect, complex trap. The cenotes are a terrifying bridge between the living world and the ancient silent darkness of the Mayan underworld. The missing are not simply drowning, they are being collected by a spiritual geography that actively resists exploration. They become permanent residents of the cold, dark world beneath the earth. Mammoth Cave System, the never-ending dark. The Mammoth Cave System in Kentucky is the world's longest known cave system, a dizzying, multi-layered labyrinth of silent, cold rock. Despite extensive mapping, there are countless unmapped passages, and both explorers and visitors have vanished in the dark, often close to marked trails. The overwhelming silence and lack of light create a profound sense of isolation. The vanishings are often tied to the psychological breaking point of being in the absolute dark, with victims leaving behind their lamps and gear as if fleeing an unseen immediate threat. The sheer complexity of the maze means that a body could remain lost for millennia, hidden by the Earth's indifferent geometry. The caves are a place where direction and time lose all meaning. Mammoth Cave is a terrifying reminder that we walk on a fragile crust above a massive silent world that is actively trying to consume us. The missing people are absorbed into the cold, ancient body of the earth, becoming ghosts of the never-ending dark. The cave is a patient, final collector of human fear and curiosity. The Bermuda deep sea trenches, the void below. The Bermuda Triangle is famous for surface disappearances, but the deep sea trenches beneath it hold an even darker secret. Divers and submersible crews exploring these depths have vanished, often after reporting strange, massive sonar readings that defy explanation. The pressure here is crushing, but the vanishings are often silent and unheralded by equipment failure. The trenches are believed to be some of the deepest points in the Atlantic, and the sheer volume of dark, cold water acts as a final filter. The missing are simply added to the colossal volume of the deep, where the ocean's dark physical power is absolute. It is a place where the light has never reached, and the only inhabitants are the cold secrets of the sea. The Bermuda Trenches represent the ultimate vanishing point, a place so deep that human technology cannot track or retrieve the lost. The missing people are consumed by the sheer scale of the abyss, becoming part of the Earth's cold, silent heart. The deep ocean is patient, and its consumption is total. Mine tunnels of Cobalt, Ontario, the lost gold. The abandoned mine tunnels of Cobalt, Ontario, once a massive silver mining operation, are a labyrinth of deep, dangerous shafts and forgotten galleries. Despite being sealed, people, from urban explorers to prospectors seeking forgotten veins, have broken in and vanished into the cold, metal-laced dark. The tunnels are said to be haunted by the ghosts of miners who died seeking the silver. The vanishings are often linked to a terrifying sense of disorientation, where the victim believes they are walking toward the light when they are actually walking deeper into the maze. The ancient, unstable wooden supports and the deep, water-filled shafts ensure that once a person is gone, the mine collapses its secrets over them. The earth here is infused with a greedy, possessive energy. Cobalt's mines are a silent, metallic tomb where the pursuit of wealth leads to a final cold end. The missing people become a part of the mine's history, forever lost among the silver and the stone. The tunnels are a terrifying reminder that some man-made structures are so deep and complex that they become a geological entity that actively resists human return. The Marianas Trench, the unseen depths. The Marianas Trench, the deepest part of the world's oceans, is a region of near absolute darkness and crushing pressure. While human visits are rare, the few submersibles and deep-sea exploration teams that have gone missing here suggest a frightening final vanishing point. The ocean here is not just deep, it is a final, cold and absolute void. The vanishings are tied to the concept of the deep ocean being a massive fluid black hole, where the density of the water and the lack of light create a final silent filter. Any mechanical failure at this depth is instantaneous and final, ensuring that no body or wreckage is ever recovered. The trench is a geological secret that refuses to be known. The Marianas Trench is the ultimate limit of human exploration, and the missing people are consumed by the sheer, cold power of the Earth's final layer. They become ghosts of the unseen depths, forever lost in the dark, cold silence of the world's most massive scar. The ocean's memory is long, but its silence is absolute. The sump of the earth, the bottomless pit. The sump of the earth is a local name for a terrifying deep cave in South Africa, rumoured to be bottomless. Local legends warn that it is a place where the earth itself breathes, and it will actively pull the unwary into its cold, wet mouth. Explorers who have vanished here often send a final, panicked message about hearing a strange, deep and mechanical grinding sound from below. The caving community knows that this particular system is unusually complex, with shafts that suddenly change direction or narrow into impassable squeezes. The disappearances are tied to the psychological panic of deep caving, coupled with the local legends of the cave's hungry nature. It suggests a place where the earth is actively, consciously hunting for its own. The sump of the earth is a terrifying monument to the idea of a geological trap. The missing people are consumed by the cold, dark stone, becoming part of the cave's eternal silent hunger. The cave is a bottomless silence that patiently waits for the next curious soul to fall into its welcoming dark mouth. The Atlantis Submarine Canyon, the Mid-Atlantic Scar. The Atlantis Submarine Canyon, a massive underwater gorge near the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, is an area of intense seismic and hydrothermal activity. The intense deep currents and the unpredictable nature of the ocean floor make it a natural vanishing point. Deep-sea researchers who have disappeared here often report a final message about sudden, violent currents that defy the local charts. The canyon is a massive scar on the ocean floor, a place where the Earth's crust is actively tearing itself apart. The hydrothermal vents release strange dark plumes of minerals, creating an underwater atmosphere that is both visually and magnetically disorienting. The missing are simply swallowed by the canyon's geological chaos. The Atlantis Canyon is a terrifying reminder of the Earth's constant, violent and unseen transformation. The missing people are consumed by the slow, grinding power of the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, becoming ghosts of the Earth's restless heart. The canyon is a silent, cold collector of human curiosity and technological hubris. The Paris sewer system. The dark maze. The historic sewer system beneath Paris, though partially open to tourism, contains a massive, unmapped network of ancient tunnels and deep pits. Like the catacombs, people have vanished here, lost to the maze and the terrifying deep dark. The silence of the sewers, broken only by the sound of rushing water, is profound and absolute. The vanishings are often linked to a desperate sense of confusion, where the victim loses all sense of direction and time. The water itself seems to wash away all tracks, ensuring that no search is ever successful. The tunnels are filled with old, forgotten debris, creating a perfect dark maze that actively resists human escape. The Paris sewers are a terrifying shadow world beneath the city's surface, a place where the dark, man-made architecture conspires against the living. The missing people are consumed by the city's hidden past, becoming ghosts of the dark, cold water. The sewers are a silent, cold collector of those who mistake a dark hole for a simple underground path. The wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. Lake Superior's claim, the SS. Edmund Fitzgerald, a massive iron ore freighter, sank without a distress call in a ferocious storm on Lake Superior in 1975, taking all 29 crew members with it. The wreck lies in deep, cold water, and the sheer size of the ship makes its sudden, complete disappearance one of the great mysteries of the Great Lakes. The cold, dark lake refused to give up the men or the cause of the sinking. The vanishings are tied to the power of Lake Superior, often called the most dangerous of the Great Lakes. The sudden, violent storms and the intense cold ensure that any drowning is quick and absolute. The wreck site is a watery tomb, heavily guarded by the cold and the massive deep silence of the lake. The Edmund Fitzgerald is a symbol of the Great Lakes' consuming power, a massive machine swallowed whole by the water. The missing people are consumed by the cold, dark silence of the lake, becoming ghosts of the deep, cold water. The lake is a silent, cold collector of human hubris and technological failure. Moaning Cavern, the cave's whisper. Moaning Cavern in California is a massive, deep, vertical cave that gets its name from the strange, low sounds the wind makes as it blows through the chambers. This natural formation is a terrifying, silent collector of the lost, with evidence of human remains stretching back thousands of years. People who venture into the unmapped, wet passages have simply vanished into the dark. The moaning sound itself is tied to the cave's hungry nature, a whisper that lures the curious into the dark. The deep, wet passages and the slippery rock ensure that once a person is gone, the evidence is quickly and completely erased. The cave is a massive, cold and silent tomb that patiently waits for its next victim. Moaning Cavern is a final reminder that the earth is constantly working against us, a place where the cold, dark stone actively resists human presence. The missing people are consumed by the cold, dark silence of the cave, becoming ghosts of the earth's ancient, consuming hunger. The cave is a bottomless pit of silence and despair. Mount Everest's death zone. The ultimate claim, the death zone above 8,000 metres on Mount Everest, is a high-altitude void where the air is too thin to sustain life. While many bodies are left here, the more unsettling fact is that experienced climbers have vanished entirely, often in full view of others, as if stepping into a momentary white curtain. The intense cold and the thin air create a profound sense of disorientation. The vanishings are tied to the psychological breakdown of the human mind at extreme altitude, where the brain actively rejects reality. The mountain itself is said to be sacred, a place that actively demands tribute from those who dare to trespass. The sheer scale and the constant wind ensure that any body or evidence is quickly buried beneath the eternal snow. Mount Everest is the ultimate collector of human ambition, a silent, cold giant that claims its victims with terrifying ease. The missing people are consumed by the cold, thin air, becoming ghosts of the Earth's highest, most hostile place. The mountain is a final, cold monument to human hubris. The Plain of Jars, Laos's silence. The Plain of Jars in Laos is an archaeological site famous for thousands of massive ancient stone jars scattered across the landscape. The area is heavily contaminated with unexploded ordnance, UXO, from the Vietnam War, but even beyond the physical danger, people, often locals seeking scrap metal, have vanished near the largest, most isolated jars. The disappearances are tied to the local belief that the jars were used by giants to brew wine, and that the area is cursed by the ancient spirits. The sheer volume of hidden ordnance and the thick vegetation ensure that once a person is gone, the search is almost impossible. The plain is a landscape of profound historical trauma and a physical minefield. The Plain of Jars is a terrifying example of a historical site that actively resists human exploration, a silent, beautiful trap. The missing people are consumed by the silent curse of the ancient giants and the hidden war, becoming ghosts of the fragmented, dangerous landscape. The jars stand guard over an eternal, dangerous silence. Mount Fuji's Aokigahara Forest, the Sea of Trees. Aokigahara, the Sea of Trees near the base of Japan's Mount Fuji, is infamous for its darkness, dense foliage, and the high number of people who enter it and never return. The forest floor is thick with volcanic rock, making tracks impossible to follow, and the sheer density of the trees blocks out sound and light. The forest is a place of profound psychological pressure. The vanishings here are often linked to the psychological pull of the forest itself, which is rumoured to be haunted by the spirits of the dead. The trees grow so densely that compasses often fail to work correctly, leading to profound disorientation. The forest actively resists discovery, acting as a massive silent filter. Aokigahara is a terrifying reminder that some places are so dark and dense that they act as a physical and spiritual magnet for despair. The missing people are consumed by the cold, dark silence of the forest, becoming ghosts of the tree's eternal, unforgiving silence. The forest is a collector of human sorrow and finality. The Tibetan Plateau, the roof of the void. The Tibetan Plateau, the world's largest and highest plateau, is a desolate, frozen and isolated expanse. The sheer scale and the extreme altitude make it a natural vanishing point for nomads, monks, and explorers. The few reports of vanishings here often involve people walking across the vast empty plain and simply disappearing over a visual horizon that leads to nothingness. The disappearances are tied to the spiritual belief that the plateau is a transition zone, a place between the human world and the heavens. The intense cold and the thin air create a profound sense of disorientation, ensuring that any death is silent and quick. The vast, empty landscape offers no cover and no escape from the elements. The Tibetan Plateau is a terrifying, silent monument to the Earth's colossal scale. The missing people are consumed by the cold, thin air, becoming ghosts of the Earth's highest, most remote place. The plateau is a final, cold collector of human ambition and spiritual quest. The Lost World's grip, Mount Roraima, a massive, flat-topped table mountain on the border of Venezuela, Guyana and Brazil, is a place of profound geological mystery. Its sheer 400-metre cliffs and its constant cloud cover make it a terrifying, isolated environment. Explorers who venture onto the plateau's surface, often called the Lost World, have vanished without a trace in the dense, silent fog. The unique environment of Roraima, with its black, sharp rocks and bizarre endemic plants, is said to be highly magnetic and spiritually charged. The vanishings are tied to the sudden dense fog that appears instantly and swallows all light and direction. The sheer, terrifying edges of the plateau ensure that any fall is absolute and final. Roraima is a chilling reminder that some places on Earth actively resist human presence, a silent, ancient island in the sky. The missing people are consumed by the cold, dense fog, becoming ghosts of the plateau's eternal dark silence. The mountain is a final, cold and silent collector of human curiosity. The Rockies 14ers, the high-altitude maze. The 14ers are the 53 mountain peaks in Colorado that rise above 14,000 feet. These high-altitude climbs are popular, but the sheer scale and the sudden violent storms make them natural vanishing points. Experienced climbers have disappeared here, often within sight of the final summit, as if the mountain itself snatched them away in a final cruel joke. The vanishings are tied to the unpredictable mountain weather and the sheer, unforgiving geometry of the rock. The thin air and the intense cold ensure that any mistake is immediate and final. The mountains are so vast and complex that a person can be lost within yards of a marked trail, sealed in a cold, silent ravine forever. The Colorado Rockies are a powerful symbol of the American wilderness's consuming power. The missing people are consumed by the cold, thin air, becoming ghosts of the mountain's eternal, indifferent silence. The peaks stand as silent, cold collectors of human ambition and misplaced confidence. Torres del Paine, Chile's sudden grip. Torres del Paine National Park in Chile, famous for its sharp granite towers, is a place of profound, unsettling natural beauty. The park is notorious for the sudden, violent weather changes, storms that appear instantly and drop temperatures dramatically. Hikers, often experienced and well-prepared, have vanished here, caught in the sudden, silent grip of the Patagonian weather. The disappearances are tied to the local belief that the granite towers are themselves alive, acting as massive lightning rod magnets for violent storms. The sheer isolation and the complex deep canyons ensure that once a person is gone, the evidence is quickly and completely erased by the wind and the cold. Torres del Paine is a terrifying reminder of the Earth's raw, unpredictable power, a place where beauty meets sudden, absolute violence. The missing people are consumed by the cold, deep silence of the Patagonian wilderness, becoming ghosts of the mountain's eternal, indifferent power. The granite towers stand guard over an eternal, dangerous silence. Mount St. Helens, the eruption zone's echo. Mount St. Helens in Washington state, famous for its massive 1980 eruption, is a landscape of profound, unsettling devastation. While the area is controlled, people who venture into the remote scarred zones have vanished, often near the deep, hot vents and the strange, smooth blast zones. The silence of the mountain is broken only by the sound of the wind moving through the ash. The vanishings are tied to the psychological pressure of the devastating landscape, coupled with the local belief that the mountain is still angry and actively claiming those who trespass on its scars. The deep ash and the shifting ground ensure that once a person is gone, the evidence is quickly and completely erased by the Earth's slow, powerful transformation. Mount St. Helens is a modern monument to the Earth's terrifying, unpredictable power. The missing people are consumed by the cold, deep silence of the volcanic ash, becoming ghosts of the mountain's eternal, silent anger. The mountain is a final, cold collector of human curiosity and ecological hubris. The Atlas Mountains, Morocco's ancient path. The Atlas Mountains in Morocco are a massive, dry and unforgiving range that is home to ancient, isolated communities. The disappearances here are often tied to people walking between villages or seeking forgotten tribal routes, only to vanish completely in the vast, silent and complex canyons. The high, thin air and the intense heat ensure that any mistake is immediate and final. The vanishings are tied to the local belief that the mountains are guarded by the jinn, powerful spirits who actively mislead travellers into eternal mazes. The sheer scale and the lack of water ensure that once a person is gone, the evidence is quickly and completely erased by the wind and the sun. The mountains are a place of profound, unsettling isolation. The Atlas Mountains are a powerful symbol of the Earth's massive, unforgiving scale. The missing people are consumed by the cold, dry air, becoming ghosts of the mountain's eternal, silent indifference. The mountains are a final, cold collector of human ambition and misplaced curiosity. The Drakensberg Mountains, the Dragon's Back. The Drakensberg Mountains, or Dragon's Back in South Africa, are a massive, sharp and isolated range known for their extreme weather and sudden violent storms. Hikers and climbers who venture onto the high plateaus have vanished here, often in full view of their companions, as if stepping into an invisible, momentary tear in reality. The sheer scale and the sharp, dangerous rock ensure that any fall is absolute and final. The vanishings are tied to the local belief that the mountains are guarded by the great dragon, who actively claims those who trespass on his territory. The constant wind and the sudden fog ensure that once a person is gone, the evidence is quickly and completely erased by the elements. The mountains are a place of profound, unsettling power. The Drakensberg Mountains are a terrifying reminder of the Earth's constant, silent and ancient power. The missing people are consumed by the cold, thin air, becoming ghosts of the mountain's eternal, silent consumption. The mountains are a final, cold collector of human ambition and natural beauty. The Northwest Passage, the frozen maze. The Northwest Passage, the sea route connecting the Atlantic and Pacific through the Arctic, is a terrifying maze of ice, cold, and dark. Historically, countless explorers and their ships have been lost here, frozen into the ice, or simply crushed by the shifting pack ice. The sheer scale and the constant violent cold ensure that any vanishing is quick and absolute. The vanishings are tied to the local belief that the Arctic is actively hostile to human presence, a cold, indifferent power that seeks to claim all who trespass. The long dark winters and the constant freezing ensure that once a person is gone, the evidence is quickly and completely erased by the relentless white. The Northwest Passage is a terrifying monument to the Earth's cold, final power. The missing people are consumed by the cold, dark silence of the ice, becoming ghosts of the Arctic's eternal, indifferent power. The ice is a massive, cold and silent collector of human ambition and arrogance. The Franklin Expedition's Route. The Last Trace. Sir John Franklin's expedition to find the Northwest Passage in 1845 vanished completely with 2 ships and 129 men. While some bodies and artefacts were later found, the final, absolute disappearance of the remaining men remains a profound mystery. The silence of the Arctic simply swallowed the entire massive expedition without a trace of the final fate. The vanishings are tied to the immense cold and the sheer isolation of the Arctic, which ensures that any death is silent and absolute. The missing men were consumed by the cold, dark silence of the ice, becoming ghosts of the Arctic's eternal, unforgiving power. The search for the missing men became its own vanishing point, claiming subsequent rescue teams. The Franklin expedition is a terrifying symbol of the Arctic's consuming power, a massive force that can erase an entire naval team from the history books. The ice is a cold, silent collector of human ambition, ensuring that the final secrets remain sealed beneath the white. The Siberian permafrost, the ancient silence. The vast frozen expanse of the Siberian permafrost is a place of profound, cold silence and isolation. People, from indigenous hunters to geologists, have vanished here, often near deep, natural gas vents or strange, deep lakes that defy normal geography. The sheer cold and the lack of cover ensure that any disappearance is quickly sealed beneath the ice. The vanishings are tied to the local belief that the permafrost is a living entity, an ancient cold power that actively resists human presence. The long, dark winters and the constant freezing ensure that once a person is gone, the evidence is quickly and completely erased by the relentless white. Siberia is a terrifying reminder of the Earth's cold, final power. The missing people are consumed by the cold, dark silence of the ice, becoming ghosts of the Earth's cold, silent heart. The permafrost is a massive, cold and silent collector of human ambition and misplaced curiosity. The ice caves of Greenland, the Blue Labyrinth. The massive blue ice caves beneath the Greenland ice sheet are a labyrinth of cold, deep silence and profound beauty. Explorers who venture into the unmapped deep passages have vanished here, often after reporting a strange, deep and rhythmic sound coming from the ice itself. The cold and the complex, shifting nature of the ice ensure that any vanishing is silent and absolute. The vanishings are tied to the local belief that the ice is alive, a massive ancient power that actively resists human presence. The cold, dark blue of the ice creates a profound sense of disorientation, ensuring that once a person is gone, the evidence is quickly and completely erased by the freezing. The Greenland ice caves are a terrifying reminder of the Earth's cold, final power. The missing people are consumed by the cold, dark silence of the ice, becoming ghosts of the ice's eternal, silent consumption. The ice is a final, cold collector of human ambition and misplaced curiosity. The Great Slave Lake, Canada's cold void. The Great Slave Lake in Canada is one of the deepest lakes in the world, a massive, cold and dark body of water that remains frozen for much of the year. People, from fishermen to ice road truckers, have vanished here, often after reporting strange, massive holes appearing in the ice or strange, deep and unnatural sounds coming from the water below. The vanishings are tied to the local belief that the lake is guarded by a massive, unknown creature that actively claims those who trespass on its territory. The sheer size and the intense cold ensure that any drowning is quick and absolute. The lake is a cold, silent collector of human ambition and misplaced curiosity. The Great Slave Lake is a terrifying reminder of the Earth's cold, final power. The missing people are consumed by the cold, dark silence of the water, becoming ghosts of the lake's eternal, indifferent power. The lake is a final, cold collector of human ambition and natural beauty. McMurdo Station, Antarctica, the edge of the field. McMurdo Station, the large US research base in Antarctica, is a place of intense isolation and cold. While secure, the deep field beyond the base is a massive white void that has claimed researchers and explorers who venture too far. The sheer scale and the constant whiteout conditions ensure that any vanishing is silent and absolute. The vanishings are tied to the psychological breakdown of the human mind in the absolute white, where the brain actively rejects reality. The sheer cold and the lack of reference points ensure that once a person is gone, the evidence is quickly and completely erased by the relentless white. The missing are simply swallowed by the void. Antarctica is the ultimate expression of the Earth's cold, final power. The missing people are consumed by the cold, thin air, becoming ghosts of the continent's eternal, indifferent power. The ice is a massive, cold, and silent collector of human ambition and technological hubris. The Svalbard Global Seed Vault, the frozen treasury. The Svalbard Global Seed Vault in Norway, a massive seed bank buried in the Arctic permafrost, is one of the most secure places on Earth. While the vault itself is protected, the surrounding snowfields have been the site of mysterious disappearances, often involving people who attempt to trespass or study the unique permafrost. The vanishings are tied to the intense cold and the local belief that the Earth itself is guarding its most precious treasure. The cold, dark silence of the Arctic ensures that any vanishing is quick and absolute. The sheer isolation and the lack of cover ensure that once a person is gone, the evidence is quickly and completely erased by the white. The Seed Vault area is a chilling reminder of the Earth's cold, final power, a place where the most important of human treasures are kept safe by the silence. The missing people are consumed by the cold, dark silence of the ice, becoming ghosts of the Arctic's eternal silent consumption. The Bering Strait Islands, the frozen bridge. The Bering Strait Islands, located on the narrow frozen bridge between Asia and North America, are places of extreme cold, isolation, and dangerous, unpredictable ice. People, from indigenous hunters to geologists, have vanished here, often near the deep, unpredictable currents or the strange ancient burial sites. The vanishings are tied to the local belief that the islands are a transition zone, a place where the spirits of the past still walk. The sheer cold and the constant freezing ensure that once a person is gone, the evidence is quickly and completely erased by the ice. The islands are a massive, cold, and silent collector of human ambition. The Bering Strait Islands are a terrifying reminder of the Earth's cold, final power. The missing people are consumed by the cold, dark silence of the ice, becoming ghosts of the frozen bridge's eternal, silent power. The islands are a final, cold collector of human ambition and misplaced curiosity. The Yukon Territory's Gold Rush Trails, the White Silence. The Yukon Territory in Canada, famous for the Klondike Gold Rush, is a vast, cold and isolated wilderness. Thousands of prospectors vanished here, lost to the extreme cold, the sheer scale, and the unforgiving rivers. The vanishings are often tied to the psychological breakdown of the human mind in the absolute isolation, where the brain actively rejects reality. The vanishings are tied to the local belief that the gold itself is cursed, a source of greed that actively claims those who seek it. The sheer cold and the thick forests ensure that once a person is gone, the evidence is quickly and completely erased by the snow. The Yukon is a massive, cold, and silent collector of human ambition. The Yukon is a terrifying reminder of the Earth's cold, final power. The missing people are consumed by the cold, dark silence of the snow, becoming ghosts of the territory's eternal, indifferent power. The wilderness is a final, cold collector of human greed and misplaced confidence. The northern magnetic pole area, the compass's end. The area around the northern magnetic pole is a place of profound geographical and magnetic anomaly. Explorers and aircraft have vanished here, often after reporting a complete failure of all navigational equipment. The magnetic field here is so chaotic that it actively resists human direction, leading people into the absolute cold void. The vanishings are tied to the belief that the pole is a nexus of Earth's dark magnetic power, a place that actively resists human technology. The sheer cold and the lack of cover ensure that once a person is gone, the evidence is quickly and completely erased by the relentless white. The pole is a final, cold collector of human ambition. The northern magnetic pole is a terrifying reminder of the Earth's unseen, fundamental power. The missing people are consumed by the cold, dark silence of the magnetic field, becoming ghosts of the pole's eternal indifferent power. The pole is a final, cold collector of human hubris and technological failure. Stonehenge, the surrounding fields pull. Stonehenge, the massive ancient stone circle in England, is famous for its astronomical and ritualistic power. While the stones are guarded, people who trespass or camp in the surrounding field have vanished, often near the deep, ancient burial mounds that surround the site. The vanishings are tied to the local belief that the stones are an active spiritual gateway. The vanishings are tied to the idea that the ancient ritual site occasionally demands a tribute, a human sacrifice to renew its power. The sheer age and the unknown purpose of the stones create a profound sense of temporal and spiritual disorientation. The missing people are consumed by the stone's ancient dark silence. Stonehenge is a terrifying reminder that some places are so profoundly charged with the past that they actively reject human presence. The missing people are consumed by the stone's cold, dark silence, becoming ghosts of the ancient ritual. The stones stand guard over an eternal, silent hunger. Newgrange Passage, Tomb, Ireland's darkest secret. Newgrange, a massive ancient passage tomb in Ireland, is illuminated only once a year by the winter solstice sun. The area surrounding this massive, mysterious mound is tied to local legends of people vanishing near its entrance, often drawn by a strange, low humming sound coming from within the dark stone. The vanishings are tied to the local belief that the tomb is an active portal to the other world, a place where the spirits of the ancient dead still walk. The sheer age and the unknown ritual purpose of the tomb create a profound sense of spiritual disorientation. The missing people are consumed by the stone's cold, dark silence. Newgrange is a terrifying reminder that some places are so profoundly ancient that they actively resist human presence. The missing people are consumed by the stone's cold, dark silence, becoming ghosts of the ancient ritual. The tomb stands guard over an eternal silent hunger. The Nazca Lines, Peru's desert altar. The Nazca Lines in Peru, massive ancient geoglyphs etched into the desert floor, are a profound and disturbing mystery. People who camp or trespass near the lines have vanished, often after reporting strange, massive aerial shapes moving silently above the ground. The sheer scale and the unknown ritual purpose of the lines create a profound sense of disorientation. The vanishings are tied to the local belief that the lines are an altar to the sky gods, and that the area occasionally demands a tribute. The intense heat and the lack of cover ensure that once a person is gone, the evidence is quickly and completely erased by the wind and the sand. The lines are a massive, silent collector of human curiosity. The Nazca Lines are a terrifying reminder that some places are so profoundly sacred that they actively resist human presence. The missing people are consumed by the desert's cold, dark silence, becoming ghosts of the ancient ritual. The desert is a final, cold collector of human ambition and misplaced curiosity. The Temple of Vesta, Rome's sacred hole. The Temple of Vesta in ancient Rome housed the sacred fire guarded by the Vestal Virgins. If a Vestal Virgin broke her vow, she was buried alive in a subterranean chamber. Vanishings have been linked to the forgotten area near this burial ground, where people report a sudden, profound sense of cold and a strange, high-pitched, mournful sound from the earth. The vanishings are tied to the local belief that the buried Vestal Virgins still guard the area, actively pulling the living into their cold, dark confinement. The sheer age and the historical trauma of the site create a profound sense of spiritual fear. The missing people are consumed by the stone's cold, dark silence. The Temple of Vesta is a terrifying reminder that some places are so profoundly cursed by historical trauma that they actively resist human presence. The missing people are consumed by the stone's cold, dark silence, becoming ghosts of the ancient ritual. The stone stands guard over an eternal, silent hunger. The Serpent Mound, Ohio's coiled curse. The Serpent Mound in Ohio is a massive ancient effigy mound built in the shape of a giant coiled snake. People who trespass or camp near the head of the serpent have vanished, often after reporting a strange, low hissing sound coming from the ground itself. The sheer size and the unknown ritual purpose of the mound create a profound sense of disorientation. The vanishings are tied to the local belief that the mound is alive, a massive ancient power that actively resists human presence. The sheer scale and the complex geometry of the coil ensure that once a person is gone, the evidence is quickly and completely erased by the Earth's slow, silent transformation. The Serpent Mound is a terrifying reminder that some places are so profoundly ancient that they actively resist human presence. The missing people are consumed by the Earth's cold, dark silence, becoming ghosts of the ancient ritual. The mound stands guard over an eternal, silent hunger. The Great Pyramid of Giza, the inner chambers. The Great Pyramid of Giza is one of the world's most mysterious structures, famous for its perfect geometry and unknown inner workings. While the main chambers are open, people who venture into the tight, unmapped maintenance shafts or the surrounding sand dunes have vanished, often near the deep, hot core of the massive structure. The vanishings are tied to the local belief that the pyramid is still guarded by a powerful, ancient force that actively resists human presence. The sheer scale and the deep, silent stone ensure that once a person is gone, the evidence is quickly and completely erased by the desert. The pyramid is a massive, silent collector of human curiosity. The Great Pyramid is a terrifying reminder that some man-made structures are so complex that they become a geological entity that actively resists human return. The missing people are consumed by the stone's cold, dark silence, becoming ghosts of the ancient ritual. The pyramid stands guard over an eternal, silent hunger. The Black Hills, South Dakota's sacred land. The Black Hills of South Dakota are a place of profound spiritual importance to the Lakota people, who consider them sacred and warned settlers to avoid the area. People who trespass into the remote central areas of the hills have vanished, often after reporting a strange, deep and rhythmic sound coming from the earth itself. The vanishings are tied to the local belief that the hills are guarded by a powerful ancient spirit that actively resists human presence. The sheer size and the deep, dark forests ensure that once a person is gone, the evidence is quickly and completely erased by the Earth's slow, silent transformation. The Black Hills are a terrifying reminder that some places are so profoundly sacred that they actively resist human presence. The missing people are consumed by the Earth's cold, dark silence, becoming ghosts of the ancient ritual. The hills stand guard over an eternal, silent hunger. The Witches' Woods, Isle of Man's curse. The Isle of Man, a small island between England and Ireland, is steeped in ancient folklore, including the legend of the Witches' Woods, a small, dark forest tied to historical witch trials and pagan ritual. People who trespass into the deepest, darkest part of the woods have vanished, often after reporting a strange, sweet and unnatural smell. The vanishings are tied to the local belief that the woods are guarded by the angry spirits of the executed witches, actively pulling the living into their cold, dark confinement. The sheer age and the dark, wet soil ensure that once a person is gone, the evidence is quickly and completely erased by the forest. The Witches' Woods are a terrifying reminder that some places are so profoundly cursed by historical trauma that they actively resist human presence. The missing people are consumed by the forest's cold, dark silence, becoming ghosts of the ancient ritual. The woods stand guard over an eternal, silent hunger. Montségur Castle. France's Cathar secrets Montségur Castle in France, built on a steep, isolated peak, was the last refuge of the Cathar religious sect, who were massacred in 1244. The castle and the surrounding slopes are tied to local legends of people vanishing near the site, often drawn by a strange, faint chanting sound coming from the stone. The sheer scale and the isolation ensure that any vanishing is quick and absolute. The vanishings are tied to the local belief that the castle is still guarded by the spirits of the executed Cathars, actively pulling the living into their cold, dark confinement. The sheer age and the historical trauma of the site create a profound sense of spiritual fear. The missing people are consumed by the stone's cold, dark silence. Montségur is a terrifying reminder that some places are so profoundly cursed by historical trauma that they actively resist human presence. The missing people are consumed by the stone's cold, dark silence, becoming ghosts of the ancient ritual. The castle stands guard over an eternal silent hunger. Göbekli Tepe, Turkey's oldest secret. Göbekli Tepe in Turkey is the oldest known temple site in the world, predating Stonehenge by thousands of years. The massive, intricately carved T-shaped pillars and the sheer age of the site create a profound sense of disorientation. People who trespass near the unexcavated areas have vanished, often after reporting a strange, deep, rhythmic, pulsing sound from the earth. The vanishings are tied to the local belief that the temple is guarded by a powerful, ancient force that actively resists human presence. The sheer age and the unknown ritual purpose of the stones ensure that once a person is gone, the evidence is quickly and completely erased by the earth's slow, silent transformation. Göbekli Tepe is a terrifying reminder that some places are so profoundly ancient that they actively resist human presence. The missing people are consumed by the stone's cold, dark silence, becoming ghosts of the ancient ritual. The temple stands guard over an eternal silent hunger. Area 51, the surrounding desert's claim. Area 51, the top-secret US Air Force base in the Nevada desert, is famous for its UFO legends and intense security. While the base itself is guarded, people who trespass into the remote surrounding desert have vanished, often after reporting strange, fast-moving lights or a sudden, localized magnetic failure that jams all communication. The vanishings are tied to the local belief that the desert is actively cooperating with the hidden technology, creating a massive invisible trap. The sheer scale and the intense heat ensure that once a person is gone, the evidence is quickly and completely erased by the desert. The missing are simply swallowed by the void. Area 51 is a terrifying reminder that some places are so profoundly secretive that they actively resist human presence. The missing people are consumed by the desert's cold, dark silence, becoming ghosts of the technological fear. The desert is a final, cold collector of human curiosity and misplaced ambition. Fort Jefferson, Dry Tortugas's ghost. Fort Jefferson, a massive abandoned coastal fort in the Dry Tortugas National Park in Florida, is a remote, isolated structure surrounded by the sea. Historically a prison, people, from guards to later tourists, have vanished within its massive decaying walls, often near the deep, dark, water-filled cisterns. The silence of the abandoned fort is profound and absolute. The vanishings are tied to the local belief that the fort is still guarded by the spirits of its prisoners, actively pulling the living into their cold, dark confinement. The sheer scale and the deep, dark sea ensure that once a person is gone, the evidence is quickly and completely erased by the water. Fort Jefferson is a terrifying reminder that some man-made structures are so complex that they become a geological entity that actively resists human return. The missing people are consumed by the fort's cold, dark silence, becoming ghosts of the historical trauma. The fort stands guard over an eternal silent hunger. The Maginot Line, the abandoned tunnels. The Maginot Line, a massive complex series of concrete fortifications built by France before World War II, contains miles of abandoned, dark and unmapped tunnels. People, from urban explorers to scavengers, have vanished here, often near the deep, dark, silent generator rooms or the forgotten ammunition depots. The vanishings are tied to the belief that the line's purpose, to contain a threat was twisted, and the structure itself became the threat. The sheer scale and the dark, wet concrete ensure that once a person is gone, the evidence is quickly and completely erased by the Earth's slow, silent transformation. The Maginot Line is a terrifying reminder that some man-made structures are so complex that they become a geological entity that actively resist human return. The missing people are consumed by the concrete's cold, dark silence, becoming ghosts of the historical trauma. The tunnels stand guard over an eternal, silent hunger. The Greenbrier Bunker, the Cold War's crypt. The Greenbrier Bunker in West Virginia, a massive, secret underground facility built for Congress during the Cold War, is a chilling relic of a terrified era. People who trespass into the remote, unmapped service tunnels or the abandoned communications areas have vanished, often after reporting a strange, low, rhythmic clicking sound from the walls. The vanishings are tied to the belief that the bunker is still actively operating, a self-aware machine that consumes those who violate its secrecy. The sheer scale and the deep, dark concrete ensure that once a person is gone, the evidence is quickly and completely erased by the structure's silent power. The Greenbrier Bunker is a terrifying reminder that some man-made structures are so profoundly secretive that they actively resist human presence. The missing people are consumed by the concrete's cold, dark silence, becoming ghosts of the technological fear. The bunker stands guard over an eternal silent hunger. The Tunguska Event Site, Siberia's crater. The Tunguska Event Site in Siberia is the remote, desolate forest area flattened by a massive, unexplained explosion in 1908. People who venture into the centre of the blast zone have vanished, often near the strange, dark, circular lakes that defy normal geography. The silence of the area is broken only by the constant, high-pitched wind. The vanishings are tied to the belief that the explosion was not natural, but a discharge of a powerful technological or cosmic force that still guards the area. The sheer isolation and the immense flattened forest ensure that once a person is gone, the evidence is quickly and completely erased by the slow, silent transformation. The Tunguska site is a terrifying reminder that some places are so profoundly scarred by an unknown event that they actively resist human presence. The missing people are consumed by the forest's cold, dark silence, becoming ghosts of the cosmic fear. The forest stands guard over an eternal silent hunger. The Bermuda Air Force Base, the Watcher. The former US Air Force Base in the Bermuda Triangle is a remote, isolated location that served as a key hub during the height of the disappearances. People, from maintenance crews to civilian contractors, have vanished from the base itself, often near the massive abandoned radar dishes or the deep, dark concrete hangars. The vanishings are tied to the local belief that the base's radar and communication equipment was actively interfering with the Triangle's unseen power, making the area intensely hostile. The sheer isolation and the deep, dark sea ensure that once a person is gone, the evidence is quickly and completely erased by the water. The Bermuda base is a terrifying reminder that some man-made structures are so complex that they become a geological entity that actively resists human return. The missing people are consumed by the concrete's cold, dark silence, becoming ghosts of the technological fear. The base stands guard over an eternal silent hunger. The Demarcation Line, Korea's final silence. The Demarcation Line, DMZ, between North and South Korea is one of the most heavily fortified and isolated borders in the world. While heavily guarded, people, often defectors or soldiers, have vanished within the deep, isolated zones, often near the strange, dark, forgotten tunnels that honeycomb the border. The vanishings are tied to the psychological pressure of the border itself, a place of intense, constant and silent military tension. The sheer isolation and the complex, deep tunnels ensure that once a person is gone, the evidence is quickly and completely erased by the Earth's slow, silent transformation. The DMZ is a terrifying reminder that some places are so profoundly cursed by historical tension that they actively resist human presence. The missing people are consumed by the Earth's cold, dark silence, becoming ghosts of the geopolitical fear. The border stands guard over an eternal silent hunger. The lost platoon of the Mekong Delta, Vietnam's grip. The Mekong Delta in Vietnam, a massive, complex network of rivers, swamps, and dense jungle, was a primary combat zone during the Vietnam War. Several small platoons and patrols vanished completely here, often near the deep, dark, complex swamp areas, leaving behind only the ghost of their last radio call. The vanishings are tied to the local belief that the jungle is actively fighting the war, consuming soldiers from both sides indiscriminately. The sheer density and the shifting wet earth ensure that once a person is gone, the evidence is quickly and completely erased by the jungle. The Mekong Delta is a terrifying reminder that some places are so profoundly scarred by historical trauma that they actively resist human presence. The missing people are consumed by the jungle's cold, dark silence, becoming ghosts of the war's final terror. The swamp stands guard over an eternal silent hunger. The silent battery, Gibraltar's tunnels. The massive network of military tunnels inside the Rock of Gibraltar, known as the galleries, is a labyrinth of cold, dark and unmapped stone. People, from soldiers to later civilian workers, have vanished here, often near the deep, dark, unventilated chambers or the forgotten ammunition depots. The vanishings are tied to the local belief that the rock is itself alive, a massive silent sentinel that actively consumes those who trespass in its internal secrets. The sheer scale and the deep silent stone ensure that once a person is gone, the evidence is quickly and completely erased by the Earth's slow, silent transformation. Gibraltar's tunnels are a terrifying reminder that some man-made structures are so complex that they become a geological entity that actively resists human return. The missing people are consumed by the stone's cold, dark silence, becoming ghosts of the historical trauma. The rock stands guard over an eternal silent hunger. The site of the Little Bighorn, the river's edge. The site of the Battle of the Little Bighorn in Montana is a place of profound historical trauma, where Custer's entire command was wiped out. People who camp or trespass near the river's edge have vanished, often near the deep, dark, sudden bends of the water. The silence of the area is broken only by the wind moving through the tall grass. The vanishings are tied to the local belief that the river actively resists human presence, a place where the spirits of the dead still walk and demand tribute. The sheer scale and the deep, silent river ensure that once a person is gone, the evidence is quickly and completely erased by the water. The Little Bighorn site is a terrifying reminder that some places are so profoundly scarred by historical trauma that they actively resist human presence. The missing people are consumed by the river's cold, dark silence, becoming ghosts of the historical battle. The river stands guard over an eternal silent hunger. Skinwalker Ranch, Utah's portal. Skinwalker Ranch in Utah is a remote, isolated ranch tied to decades of extreme, unexplained activity, including UFOs, strange creatures, and baffling disappearances. People who venture near the ranch's northern property line have vanished, often after reporting strange, massive geometric symbols appearing and vanishing in the night sky. The vanishings are tied to the local belief that the ranch sits on a powerful, ancient portal, a place where the veil between worlds is thin and often tears open. The sheer isolation and the complex, invisible electromagnetic forces ensure that once a person is gone, the evidence is quickly and completely erased by the land. Skinwalker Ranch is a terrifying reminder that some places are so profoundly charged with the unknown that they actively resist human presence. The missing people are consumed by the land's cold, dark silence, becoming ghosts of the cosmic fear. The ranch stands guard over an eternal silent hunger. Overton Bridge, Scotland's dog suicide bridge. Overton Bridge in Scotland is famous for a terrifying and baffling phenomenon. Dogs frequently leap to their deaths from the same spot on the bridge, often under clear weather conditions. While dogs are the primary victims, people have also vanished near the bridge, often after reporting a strange, high-pitched, compelling sound from the river below. The vanishings are tied to the local belief that the bridge is cursed, a place where the veil between worlds is thin and actively pulls life into the cold, dark water. The sheer age and the dark, deep gorge ensure that once a person is gone, the evidence is quickly and completely erased by the water. Overton Bridge is a terrifying reminder that some places are so profoundly cursed that they actively resist human presence. The missing people are consumed by the water's cold, dark silence, becoming ghosts of the bridge's eternal, silent hunger. The bridge stands guard over an eternal, silent, and heartbreaking mystery. The eternal flame falls. New York's Phantom Fire. Eternal Flame Falls in New York is a small waterfall famous for a natural gas vent behind the cascade that stays permanently lit. People who venture off the trail to get closer to the flame have vanished, often after reporting a strange, intense and hypnotic warmth that compels them to move closer to the hidden fire. The vanishings are tied to the local belief that the flame is not natural, but a discharge of a powerful ancient force that actively guards the area. The sheer isolation and the deep, wet earth ensure that once a person is gone, the evidence is quickly and completely erased by the earth's slow, silent transformation. The eternal flame is a terrifying reminder that some places are so profoundly charged with an unknown power that they actively resist human presence. The missing people are consumed by the fire's cold, dark silence, becoming ghosts of the natural curiosity. The falls stand guard over an eternal, silent hunger. Puerta de Hayu. Marca, the doorway to the gods. Puerta de Hayu Marca in Peru is a massive T-shaped rock formation carved into a mountain, locally known as the doorway to the gods. Local legend claims that this is a portal to another dimension, and people who touch the centre of the carving at sunset have vanished, often after reporting a strange, high-pitched, electric hum. The vanishings are tied to the local belief that the doorway is an active, spiritual gateway that occasionally demands a tribute to open its cold, dark stone. The sheer scale and the deep, silent mountains ensure that once a person is gone, the evidence is quickly and completely erased by the earth. The doorway to the gods is a terrifying reminder that some places are so profoundly sacred that they actively resist human presence. The missing people are consumed by the stone's cold, dark silence, becoming ghosts of the ancient ritual. The doorway stands guard over an eternal, silent hunger. The Bridgewater Water Reservoir, the Silent Observer. The Bridgewater Water Reservoir in Massachusetts, located near the Bridgewater Triangle, is a massive, man-made body of water that has a terrifying history of people vanishing near its cold, dark shores. The disappearances often involve people who attempt to swim or fish in the restricted areas, only to be swallowed by the deep, silent water. The vanishings are tied to the local belief that the reservoir is actively cooperating with the triangle's unseen power, acting as a massive liquid trap. The sheer scale and the deep, dark water ensure that once a person is gone, the evidence is quickly and completely erased by the water's cold, silent indifference. The Bridgewater Reservoir is a terrifying reminder that some man-made structures are so complex that they become a geological entity that actively resists human return. The missing people are consumed by the water's cold, dark silence, becoming ghosts of the triangle's eternal silent hunger. The water stands guard over an eternal, silent mystery. Lake Anjikuni, the water's edge. The collective capture. Lake Anjikuni in Canada, where the entire Inuit village vanished, see Fact 16, is tied to the local belief that the water itself is cursed. People who venture near the lake's cold, dark edge have vanished, often after reporting a strange, intense and hypnotic pull from the water. The sheer cold and the isolation ensure that any vanishing is silent and absolute. The vanishings are tied to the local belief that the lake is actively guarding the secret of the lost village, consuming those who seek to know its truth. The sheer cold and the vast empty landscape ensure that once a person is gone, the evidence is quickly and completely erased by the white. Lake Anjikuni is a terrifying reminder that some places are so profoundly cursed that they actively resist human presence. The missing people are consumed by the water's cold, dark silence, becoming ghosts of the collective vanishing. The lake stands guard over an eternal, silent hunger. The gates of the Arctic National Park, Alaska's finality. The gates of the Arctic National Park in Alaska is a massive, completely untouched wilderness, one of the most remote and isolated places on Earth. People, from experienced hikers to wilderness survivalists, have vanished here, often near the deep, dark, unmapped canyons or the strange ancient burial sites. The vanishings are tied to the sheer, unforgiving scale of the Arctic wilderness, a place that actively resists human presence. The sheer cold and the lack of cover ensure that once a person is gone, the evidence is quickly and completely erased by the snow. The park is a massive, cold and silent collector of human ambition. The gates of the Arctic is the ultimate expression of the Earth's cold, final power. The missing people are consumed by the cold, dark silence of the wilderness, becoming ghosts of the continent's eternal indifferent power. The park stands guard over an eternal silent hunger. The Bohemian Grove, the nearby woods. The Bohemian Grove in California, a private, secretive campground, is tied to local legends of strange, dark rituals and powerful political figures. People who trespass into the remote surrounding woods have vanished, often near the deep, dark, silent redwood trees. The sheer isolation and the immense silence ensure that any vanishing is quick and absolute. The vanishings are tied to the local belief that the grove is actively guarded by a powerful ancient force that actively resists human presence. The sheer scale and the deep, dark woods ensure that once a person is gone, the evidence is quickly and completely erased by the forest. The Bohemian Grove area is a terrifying reminder that some places are so profoundly secretive that they actively resist human presence. The missing people are consumed by the forest's cold, dark silence, becoming ghosts of the political fear. The woods stand guard over an eternal, silent hunger. The point of no return, the ancient boundary. This final geographical concept represents a theoretical point of no return, a place found across many ancient cultures where an invisible boundary separates the known world from the spiritual void. This point is tied to historical trails and rivers that were known to be one-way journeys, often claiming travellers who crossed the line in search of a final truth or new land. The vanishings are tied to the belief that the line is an active spiritual boundary that consumes those who cross it unprepared. The sheer psychological pressure of the boundary, coupled with the local legends, ensures that once a person is gone, the evidence is quickly and completely erased by the earth. The point of no return is a terrifying reminder that some places are so profoundly sacred that they actively resist human presence. The missing people are consumed by the land's cold, dark silence, becoming ghosts of the ancient boundary. The line stands guard over an eternal silent hunger. The final coordinate, the unnamed spot. Our final place is not a single point, but the convergence of all 99 unsettling locations, a massive conceptual void where all the shadows meet. This final unnamed spot is a synthesis of the deep cold, the silent stone, the magnetic chaos, and the collective historical trauma that links all the vanishings. It is the centre of the Earth's absolute silence. The vanishings here are tied to the profound realization that the Earth itself is a living, breathing entity, one that is actively collecting human souls into its deep, cold, silent heart. The final, unsettling thought is that this place is not a geographical location, but a moment in time, a final, absolute cessation of life. The unnamed spot is the ultimate terrifying reminder that we are all walking on the edge of a massive, dark and indifferent void. The missing people are consumed by the Earth's ultimate silence, becoming ghosts of the world's final absolute mystery. This place stands guard over the one, final secret we will never know. The veil is thin, and the darkness is patient. As you reflect on these 100 desolate places, consider the one thread that ties them all together, the absolute silence left behind. Do these locations simply consume proof, or is the Earth trying to tell us that some mysteries are better left undisturbed? We're all travellers on a path of history, and the ground we walk on remembers every step. In the comments below, share the one unsettling place that haunts your own sleep, the vanishing act you can't forget. And if you wish to walk further down these shadowed paths of forgotten history, press the bell and subscribe to join our journey into the quiet terror of the past. We close our journey not with answers, but with a question that echoes across the centuries. What happens to the soul that never receives its farewell? Perhaps the vanishing isn't the tragedy. Perhaps the tragedy is the final, perfect stillness these places achieve. The ancient crypts remain, the eerie symbols are etched into the stone, and the shadowed eyes of the unknown continue to watch. Rest now, if you can, knowing that the map is full of holes, and you may be sleeping closer to one of them than you realize.